So there's one comic book store in the west end of Toronto called Excalibur Comics that I've been going to on and off for the past 25, 30 years. The store owner's name is Rob, and he's a really friendly guy. Every now and then, I'll take a look through his glass display and look at some of his premium comic books. Some of the books in the display case have been there for a while, some are fairly recent, but there's always something interesting that catches my eye in there. And although I've passed up on some of these books before, this time I decided to buy some of them. Okay, so let's take a look at what I bought. Alright, so one of the books I picked up was a pretty early issue of Tales to Astonish. Now, I don't have too many of these, and the reason why is that they tend to be pretty expensive and pretty hard to find. And they're very scarce and in decent condition. This is a lower grade, probably somewhere between like a 2, maybe a 2.5. It presents better, but it's got some pretty bad staining on the inside, and some water stains. But other than that, it's pretty complete. But these are early pre-hero Marvel comic books, and they often featured some kind of monster, radioactive monster or alien monster from outer space, and they all had these wonderful names like Krang. A lot of these stories were written by Stan Lee, with artwork by Jack Kirby, Dick Ayers, Don Heck, and Steve Ditko. They often had wonderful splash pages like this. I created Kang. And I believe this first one is probably, looks like Kirby work. And, whoa, look at that ant. And the backup stories typically had a Steve Ditko artwork like that one. Woo! Often wonderful splash pages. Behold, I am the master of time. But, yeah. If I can get these reasonably cheap enough, and I want to say this was around $50, which I thought was a pretty good price for an early issue of Tales to Astonish, even though it's in pretty beat up condition. All right, the next one. This is a really nice copy of Tales to Astonish number 82, which features an Iron Man crossover. And Iron Man was featured in the sister title of this called Tales of Suspense. I don't know what issue offhand. Really nice work by Gene Colan. And often these kind of battle issues have a little bit of a premium, but it's in really nice condition. And I generally like to buy like higher grade copies as long as the price is reasonable. And it's kind of hard to gauge what is a reasonable price for a higher grade copy. I believe this was about, I want to say somewhere between, it was around $60, and that's Canadian prices. So when I say $60 Canadian, that's probably around 45-ish US. But it's got really nice pages, and I do like Silver Age Marvels, but I don't buy this kind of stuff too often just because it tends to be kind of expensive. But I'm finding, you can find what I feel are reasonable prices out there for quality books. So yeah, a really nice copy of Tales to Astonish number 82. We have also a nice copy of Tales to Astonish number 86, and this one was really cheap. This one was like around $20 Canadian, which is like $15 US. And the reason why is because if you look, there's a very light crease that runs over here that barely breaks color. But it's a fairly long crease. But because of that, and a very faint bend over there, the price was discounted quite a bit. And you know what? To me, that is totally fine. I do collect, actually, Submariner, and although I do have a few other issues of Tales to Astonish, not too many, because I like to buy them in high grade, and you know what? They can be a little pricey in high grade, even if they're run filler issues. And here is a Tower of Shadows number 3. I do like the 70s horror, and Tower of Shadows, and there was another title called Chamber of Darkness. and Creatures on the Loose. Well, Tower of Shadows and Chamber of Darkness did have original stories, new stories with new artwork, and this one is no different. But the new stories and artwork didn't last very long. And this one actually, I think, has Barry Smith art. It does. Very early Barry Smith art. Very Kirby-esque, if I say so myself. But, if it's in decent shape, and I believe this was about $10 Canadian, which is about $7 US, which I find is, sure, a nice kind of mid-high grade copy that presents very nicely. Okay, the next batch of small books. Here we have another monster book, pre-hero Marvel, Tales of Suspense number 24, a 10-center. I do like this kind of old, bold-faced 10-cent price. Insect Man. It's a lower grade copy, probably like the other one, like the Tales to Astonish I bought. Probably this might be actually maybe a 3. Good, very good. Again, this one does have some water stains, but it's complete. Only a tiny chip missing from the corner. If you look on the first page, gotta always love those splash pages by Kirby or Ditko. And I'm gonna show you something very cool in this issue. Well, I mean, it's already very cool, but at the bottom of a lot of these pages, they will actually promote other comic books being published by Marvel at that time. And check this out. On the bottom here, it says, "You'll never read a comic like the Fantastic Four. Get your spine-tingling copy today." So it's actually promoting Fantastic Four, which may be the first issue, because this is dated December 1961, and I believe FF came out maybe in November. But very cool. I love this old stuff. I think this was about $40 Canadian, which is about just under 30 US. So that's fine. And again, like, hard to find in nicer shape, or I shouldn't say hard to find, but a lot more expensive in nicer shape. Here we have a copy of Strange Tales number 42 with an amazing Kirby cover. And it's in pretty nice shape. And you're going to find with Marvel's Silver Age, anything that's pre-1965 becomes progressively difficult to find in higher grade. Anything 1966 and above can be found in higher grade. They're more plentiful in higher grade, but still, they can be pricey in higher grade. I want to say I paid about $40 Canadian, or maybe a little less, which is about under 30 US, but it's a really nice copy outside of a little impact ding out there. But oh man, this is great Kirby work. And even better, well, what I prefer is the Steve Ditko Doctor Strange. Very underrated at this time. To me, like, as much as I love Amazing Spider-Man, I also really love Steve Ditko's Doctor Strange stuff. Here we have a really nice copy of Strange Tales 165. A later issue in the run, with an amazing cover by Jim Steranko. And yeah, it's hard to believe, but as big of an artist as he was, or, I mean, look at that. I mean, Jim Steranko actually did not do that many interiors of a comic book. Okay, a quick interruption. A long time ago, I got this, which is the Artist Index. And this is what you would call a fanzine, or a publication made by fans about comic books. And this one in particular is a checklist of, how would I say, very popular artists from the 70s, and it's pretty cool. And I kind of want to show you a few pages of this. So what this is a checklist of various artists that were popular from the 70s. You see Bernie Wrightson, Barry Smith, Frank Bruner, Howard Chaykin, Paul Gulsey, Jim Steranko, Mike Kaluta, Walt Simonson, Jim Starlin, Mike Plug, and Alex Nino. And this is kind of cool because it has a lot of information with regards to the different interior artwork that was done by some of these popular artists. To my surprise, Jim Steranko actually did not do as much interior artwork than I thought. I had thought that he actually did a lot, but it turns out the number of issues that he actually drew count to less than 30 comic books. Jim Steranko, beyond just the interior comic books, he actually did a lot of covers, which some of them are just amazing. And he's well known for that artwork. He did these Nick Fury Strange Tales. He also did a handful of Nick Fury issues when they had look at that solo title, and a few issues of Captain America, and a couple of miscellaneous other stuff. But fewer issues than I had originally thought after looking into it. But yeah, very nice bright copy. Also, this I believe was just under $40. It's probably a nice 8, maybe a little bit above after a clean and a press. So yeah, very happy with this. And this was the most expensive book that I bought from the bunch, which is A Strange Tales number 117. I want to say this was about $70 Canadian, which is about 50 US. This is an early Marvel superhero issue. And what I mean by that, this would be the 17th issue that the Human Torch appears in, but only the 8th issue that Doctor Strange appears. So it's a very, very nice, presentable copy. And pre-1965 Marvels in this kind of shape are pretty tough. This is 1964. And look at that. It's got an ad for X-Men number 3. But it's really the Doctor Strange Ditko stuff that I really like, that I wanted. The reason why I bought this issue. Well, that and I felt this was a really good price for a book from this era in this kind of grade. Just because they can be kind of tough to find this kind of grade, and generally I'm a cheap collector, but when I do come across kind of nice Silver Age books in nice condition like this that are early, even though it's a pretty good chunk of change, I don't mind paying for them just because they are tough in grade. Generally, the books I like to buy are old comic books in high grade and also inexpensive. Now you'll say, Raph, that's really an impossible combination you're asking for. I would say, yeah, it's not an easy combination to fulfill, but when I say inexpensive, I want to clarify that in saying that books that I feel that are well priced for the grade. And I felt that these were really good examples of these. In one of my previous haul videos, I bought actually $120+ comic books, and that's a little more unusual. I try to kind of focus my collection now on stuff that I just want to keep permanently without growing the collection too much. And there's a policy that some collectors have that, for every new book that they buy, they got to get rid of an old book. And it's a hard policy to keep, but one that I have to make a better effort in doing because, I got a lot of comic books and they take up a lot of space. And sometimes it can be kind of hard resisting the temptation to buy a lot of cheaper comic books that I like versus kind of these nicer, well, not necessarily more expensive, or more valuable, but there's something to be said about comic books that are, a little scarcer, that are in nicer condition, that just present very nicely. So finding that balance between keeping comic books that you want to keep as your personal collection to others that you find are, this was such a great deal, I'm going to buy them. That can be difficult sometimes. I also found out that Excalibur Comics, the store that I've been known for decades, is going to be closing at the end of August of this year. Now, I hope the owner decides to maybe stick around a little bit longer, but you know, he's in his 60s now, and I totally get it. It's very, very difficult running a comic book store these days. There's a lot of factors more recently that have made it more difficult to make any money running a comic book store. So I certainly don't blame him, and he's had a really good run. So thanks, Rob, from Excalibur Comics. And if you're in Toronto in the West End, make sure to check it out. It's at the second floor, close to Royal York and Bloor. You could just look it up on Google Maps to find out what his hours are. So, what did you think about the books that I bought? Was it a fair price? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and you might want to check out one of my haul videos over here. Until next time, read and enjoy your comic books.